We're coming to you live from the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Wednesday morning. Boomer out until, I guess, the end of the week, and then he'll be back on Monday the 20th. It means that Jerry is back. Good morning, Jerry. How are you?
Gee, what's going on, man? How are you?
Well, there's not a ton going on in sports, but that means that there's a ton going on here. I actually enjoy this week because we do a lot of different stuff, but there was an All-Star Game last night that was, maybe you're not going to say, because we didn't talk about the All-Star Game before the show, but maybe you're going to say it wasn't a total bust because you're more of a baseball traditionalist guy. And I understand for the Yankee fan, it wasn't a total bust because it was their guys that got him out to a lead early in the game. And obviously those were the runs that won the game because the National League didn't score. But, I mean, that many strikeouts. You could give me all the dominant pitching in the American League you want. But an All-Star Game's supposed to be entertaining.
I agree.
And
No,
guys striking out like that is not entertaining. So it's not going to have any lasting effect. We don't have to have some referendum on the game of baseball because of this All-Star Game. I'm not trying to do that today. But that was a bust. That was a boring All-Star Game.
Not to mention 3 runs were scored very early.
Yeah,
so
right.
you got nothing
yeah.
for much of the night. I love baseball. I do not like this version of baseball with the high strikeout numbers, and last night was kind of a microcosm of what the game's become. That having been said, I liked a lot around the game. I thought, once again, I watched a lot of the pregame coverage with Burkhart and Jeter and Ortiz and A-Rod, and I thought it was really good. Their interview with Chris Sale was outstanding. A lot of the stuff from Philly I thought was done really, really well. But the game stunk. There's no. Yeah. I'm with you on that one. 4-0's 4-0, and if this was a 4-0 Met win and you're a Met fan, great. If you're a Yankee fan, you win 4-0 and Bellinger and Rice, great. But this isn't. It was an All-Star game, and I think the most interesting thing that came out of it was Junior Caminero getting hit by a fastball in the hand and thinking for a moment, oh my gosh. If you're a Rays fan, you might, but he's fine.
Yeah, worst case scenario. We talk about it all the time. You can get hurt anywhere, WBC, All-Star Game, whatever. But, God, this would have been a total nightmare if it had been a clean break. But
he's good, though.
Appears to be okay.
He said he's fine, said he'll play Friday night. But, no, I agree with you. The game itself was not great. I thought they did a really good job, everything surrounding the game. And then you got just was it 27 for the game? I mean, it's just – I know it's about launch angle and home runs, but this is where baseball's gotten boring in some cases. And last night you kind of, I think, felt that too.
Yeah, I mean, there really is there's not a more tired conversation, especially here on WFAN when we talk about like the old days and the analytics and baseball and that goes on. But I think there's 3 examples that have gone on in pro sports that I don't think you can argue that things are worse now than they were. And it's not just an old man take. It's just someone having experience in the way that the games have changed. It's just not as entertaining. Like, I'm sorry. Now, maybe it's a recency thing, or maybe I forget what it was like really when I was watching these games, but I don't think so. And those 3 examples is one. We just talked about it with the strikeout not being as big of a deal and the launch angle and it's home run or bust or all of that stuff in baseball. We talked about it a million times. The other one is when bad NBA teams shoot too many three-pointers and everybody tries to be the Golden State Warriors dynasty when they don't have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
Bad product.
And I think another one is the NFL officiating when it comes to hits and trying to protect players. Now, I totally understand why and the lawsuits and the movie concussion, and you want to keep the quarterbacks healthy, but there's just so much of that ticky-tack nonsense where I'm going to tap a guy on the helmet and all of a sudden it's a 15-yard penalty that affects the game. So those 3 things in those 3 sports, to me, it's indisputable that the product is not as good as it was. Now, I don't even think with the attention spans that we have now that it would matter if it was the way that it used to be. It's just so many regular season games in all of these sports. But there's no doubt about it that these games now have certain elements about it over the course of a long regular season that makes it more difficult and less enjoying to watch than it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy about it, and I've said this anytime I go to a game, and I went to a couple of games a few weeks ago, the talent level is supreme. I mean, these guys are so good. It's insane. You watch what they do on the field, the diving catches, taking home runs away, hitting the wall, holding on to the ball, the double plays that are turned in the infield, the bare hand grabs. They are, I would even say, I'm sure the older guys will get mad at me, but it's true. I mean, as everything progresses, things do get better, and the talent is better because you got a bigger talent pool. They're supreme athletes. But the game to me is in a way that I can totally understand it being boring, and you only want to watch that condensed game. I still enjoy it, but even I'm sitting there saying, good God, can someone get on base? Like, slap it, do something. So I agree with your take on this 100%. And the thing with the football that's so interesting is I was telling Boomer last week on my YouTube feed, a couple of his old games from 1980, God, I forget what year it was. Might have been 87 or 80, no, maybe 86, 87 the strike year. Might have been 86. The game's the same, yet so different. These hard hits that would be flagged for 15 yards today are celebrated and let go. A catch, pop, ball comes out. There is no review. It's a fumble. You move on. These games have all changed. Some for the better, some not so much.
Yeah, and it's just so annoying watching a football game and the anticipation of a flag as opposed to celebrating a play. I mean, I don't know how many times, it's whatever the play is. Is there a holding call? Is there a personal foul, roughing the passer? Whatever it may be, you're waiting after a touchdown is scored or a first down is made or whatever it is for a flag to come out. And it does change the viewership feeling about it. Now, there's sometimes where like we've talked about something or something's been exhausted so much that when I like hear the name, I start to like cringe a little bit. And I'm getting there. Certainly with the Pete Alonso stuff and that conversation. I'm also getting there with Juan Soto, but he's going to be here forever, so it's a guy we have to talk about. But I was thinking yesterday and watching him with all his teammates last night, but also the cut that CeeLo played yesterday about him doing the lip service about how, hey, there's still time, we're going to play better baseball and hang with us and all this stuff that he's saying, that he has to say.
Of
course, he can't be like, we totally suck, we're never going to win baseball games and you shouldn't go to the stadium. He's not going to say all that, so I don't have any problem with him saying that. I would love to know what he's saying to his buddies in that dugout. Or when he sees them at batting practice. I would love to know that. Now, I could only assume, and it's not fair to him for me to assume, maybe he does really believe they have some at least decent baseball on them, and it's not going to be as big of an embarrassment as it was in the first half. But because you know how it goes. I mean, even working here is just probably 5% of what it's like to be someone like Juan Soto, where there's people who know you that you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. So, and there's also people in your life that are curious about what you do, and it's a public thing. So there are times when stuff will go on around here that, my friends will come up to me and be like, hey, people that I trust,
sure.
Hey, what's going on with that? What's going on with this? And you'll tell them the truth. So like with Juan Soto, I'm just picturing, other buddies of his that he maybe hasn't seen or isn't texting with going, oh, my God, dude.
We're brutal.
What is happening? Him going, this GM sucks. Lindor's an a-hole. I mean, listen, I can't wait for that opt-out. I'm hoping this CBA goes through, but my Lord, the money is good, but this was one of the worst decisions ever. I wish I was playing with Aaron Judge. You think he's saying those things privately to his friends, or he's just so locked in being him and getting his numbers and being a professional guy that he just doesn't delve into that type of stuff?
I think it could be both. I absolutely think it could be both. I think the fact that you look at the CBA and what's going to happen going forward, him opting out may not, it might not be an option for him to opt out financially because he will never recover the money he would then lose because of the contract he was given by the Mets. Now, the thing about the Yankees is interesting, and he answered it all the right way and the way he should yesterday. But you can't tell me he hasn't thought about. Now, Judge is hurt all the time, as we're learning. But, boy, they had some season together a couple of years ago. But he was also the guy that was talking about, hey, I'm open to 30 teams, at midnight tonight, basically. Yeah. So I don't know that. What I do know is you can always look to a team like the Red Sox. They were dead and buried 2 weeks ago. You win 9 straight. You're right back in the mix. And I would think, God, I would hope that that's the mentality. But on the flip side, when you continue to lose series after series after series after series, and the way they lose games, and this frosty relationship or lack thereof with Francisco Lindor, Yeah, I think you get a couple of beers in him, and he could go off on this team. Yeah, I think, why not?
Yeah, that was always my favorite thing, like when you get like an old broadcaster who you never thought had a bad word to say about anybody. The only guy I can picture getting drunk and not spilling the beans on stuff he doesn't like is Bruce Beck. He would be the only guy who did not. But like everybody else in media, you get a couple drinks over there, start telling you how they really feel about things.
I'm Boomer size.
But no, when Boomer starts drinking, he just starts telling his old stories again. You know, he doesn't complain about it. He just tells his old NFL stories or whatever, and does the whole thing about Bruce Smith and Mr. Esiason. I can't block that guy, and Brian Cox and dumb motion and everything else. I mean, I could put on a Boomer Esiason one-man show.
I'm sure you could.
Having heard the stories. They're all very good stories. When you hear them the first time, they're great.
Yep.
When you hear them for the 50th time.
Not so great.
Yeah.
I think CeeLo could do a warm-up show being Al.
He was kind of doing it today, yeah. He was kind of doing
Al's greatest hits.
Today. But yeah, I go back to the Eric Chavez comments as well, where he used the phrase when Juan Soto was in the clubhouse as opposed to being in the dugout by himself with whatever assistant GM was there. But he used the phrase buyer's remorse, which
for the Mets or for him?
For Soto.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about Soto. Now, you would think you're more like the Mets were more buying the services of Soto as opposed to, but buyer's remorse in the sense of like, all right, I chose this place. Yeah. As opposed to some other situation. So that to me was a very calculated. I mean, you don't just say that Juan Soto was having buyer's remorse when you were with him the entire year if you really didn't believe that.
Well, last year didn't go well, and I could see him thinking that at the end of last season for sure when you looked at the way they started the year and the way the last few months went. The only thing I would say is you are still in a place where I know historically they have not been a very consistent team. I'm well aware they never make the playoffs 2 years in a row until they do. But you still do have an owner that is going to spend. Now, the CBA is an issue. I was here with Boomer last week. They're painting a very negative, and I understand why, poor picture of the Mets going forward because of the Steve Cohen comments about the minor league system has regressed. We don't know what we're going to be able to spend next year. That having been said, if you figure out ways to spend the money properly, and a lot comes on the GM, and I know this clearly, you still have a path to success. I mean, you still have, what looks like a very good outfield going forward. You still have Nolan McLean and Christian Scott. This team is not completely stripped of talent. It just hasn't gone well this year, to be fair, and I've been their biggest critic, and you shake with the Alonso stuff all you want, and I understand that. But even if you move past that for a second, you look at the makeup of the team, it's not nothing. They do have pieces to put it together. The problem has been the pieces they filled in with have been a disaster. So I wouldn't look at the Mets and think they're going to be terrible for the next 8 years. I don't see that, but this has been bad. There's no other way to put it. It's been, and then you come out the gate playing in Philadelphia this weekend, where if you didn't think they were sellers, they could lose all 3 games, and by Monday, let's start trading people. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't normally like conveying a rumor of one person saying something to me. So I'm just going to preface it by saying that I don't believe this is the case. This is one person who said this, and I don't believe it's the case, but I'll throw it out there just to see if you think it was possible, because you have been searching for reasons why Pete Alonso would not be here, and maybe this would be part of it.
Well, I was told something that makes a lot of sense to me, but go ahead.
Okay. That part of it was when he would get on the mic after the games, and he would actually say the F word out into Citi Field, that really bothered someone very important in the organization. And
that's pretty stupid.
And yes, I know. I agree, it's pretty stupid.
God.
But like that might have been part of like the tie-breaking process of like, you know what, enough of this guy.
Okay.
Yeah. So what were you told now?
Nah, nothing I would say on the air. I just wouldn't. I think I've told you off the air. I'm not going to go there. But there someone that I think would know gave me something that makes sense.
Political stuff at the clubhouse?
To some degree, yeah.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Lindor, him, political stuff, clubhouse?
No, never mentioned with who. Just rubbed people the wrong way. Now, again, I don't know that to be factual. It's just what I was told,
Yeah.
but it does make sense to me. I was told he's goofy. Okay, great. He's goofy. So what? The guy, and the notion that, I agree they needed a facelift. I've never disagreed with that, but the idea that you can't win with them. Well, I mean, they were in the NLCS a couple of years ago, largely due to the biggest home run that, was ever hit in Mets history, according to Howie Rose, by him. The Yankees, last time I checked, haven't won a World Series with Aaron Judge, and I think he's the greatest player I've ever seen. It's just had they had a better game plan. I think that's part of it, too. It's one thing to move on from all these guys, and again, I've said it 1,000 times. The rest of them, see ya, don't care. This one just never made sense to me.
Well, it was also the Jorge Polanco thing. Like that's when I went,
there's no game plan.
I was like, what? Not that he's a bad baseball player. I was like, well, you talk so much about improving the defense, and this is the way you went with a guy who just doesn't play that position. That's where I was confused. And I even said it at the time where I was like, this is all the critics that are talking about David Stearns and getting rid of Alonso. Now they've got more fuel to that fire because the Polanco thing doesn't make sense.
The other one, too, real quick, and it's worked out. So, I mean, but I'll be, very upfront here because I didn't think it would at the beginning. Part of that was you bring in Bo Bichette, who was an average major league shortstop, and you put him in a different position. Now, he's played good, so that they were right on that, and it's worked out for him. But that didn't make sense when you're trying to have all the run prevention that they talk about. So you got a guy playing third that's not a third baseman. You got a guy who's never played first base, supposed to be your first baseman. It just,
I feel like that's been a Mets thing forever, regardless of the GM or manager, that they're always playing guys out of position. I feel like this has been going on for 30 years. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things with the Jets where you're like, why? I don't know why does this happen. You change the manager, you bring him back. And it's struck me like that really does ring true.
I guess it does. Yeah, it does. You're absolutely right. And I don't understand why you try to reinvent the wheel. Like, all right, you want to step out and be different. Great. All good. But I don't know, man, just the whole notion of what they did, and then the idea that, you offer Kyle Tucker so you can come back to the Alonso thing, which is why it burns a lot of Met fans. You don't even offer him a contract, but you offer Kyle Tucker 2 years and $110 million. Why? That's really where. Now, the Dodgers will win and watch. He'll hit big home runs in the postseason, but he's been a disaster out there.
Yeah, I mean they wanted him out of here for reasons outside of baseball and sort of named it or put a thing on it with the bad defense at first base.
You realize what September 14, 15, and 16 are going to be like at Citi Field?
Oh, when he's in there,
when the Orioles come to town?
Oh, yeah. They're going to, there's going to be a fan that brings an actual polar bear to the stadium. He's going to walk him right in.
And a leash?
Yeah. I mean, it's... No, I know, man. Trust me.
They might be... Think about it. They could be like 52-95 at that point.
Oh, yeah.
And here come the Orioles haven't been good either. I mean, that's the other. They have no pitching whatsoever. And while they score runs, they can't stop a nosebleed themselves. But at least in a bad American League, they're still relevant. Boy, that week, I think it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I think you're going to see, maybe not a full house, but you're going to see 30,000 there for midweek games in September.
Yeah. I will predict that SNY will catch a fan. I'm not going to say an age, just any fan crying at one of those games. That's my prediction.
You're probably right.
SNY will put a crying fan on TV.
Yeah.
At some point during that Orioles series.
That's probably very true.
All right, Boomer and Gio on the fan with Jerry in for Boomer the rest of the week. That means we get CeeLo's updates this morning, and he'll join us in just a couple of minutes.